Good evening. Welcome to the Nigerian Pride. Today, the 10th of August 2022. I am your host, Lion Olushokumbi. You've been listening to everything happening across the country, across the nation here in Scotland. It's been so warm today, and that's why you see me in what I'm putting on. I just have the face cap to just show, yeah, it's Jambo Radio. We are up here. But seriously, the weather is warm. Energy bills are flying higher and higher. And some people already are saying this is looking worse than the pandemic lockdown. However that will work, however we'll get ourselves out of this, we still need to wait on the Tories to choose who their leader is. And from today, I think we still have about, if we look at it, we still have roughly 4 weeks or thereabout before we know who the next prime minister and who the next leader of the Tory party will be. Yeah. So today we'll be looking. I'm going to be having a chat with someone who's been on the show before, a friend of the house. She's been doing some great work, especially for our community, looking at the impact of COVID across the health sector for us and different things like that. We've had that on before, but at this point, it's good to ask some other key questions. Where are we going from here? Wherever she's got into now, where are we going from here? How will she, where does she see the position of ethnic minority women in our nation, in our country? How can they get involved? Where are they moving to? But we'll be talking generally about all of this together. And without wasting much time, let's move and let me bring on my guest. And she will introduce herself with a beautiful smile.
Thank you so much for having me, Dr. Shikumbi. So I'm Dr. Josephine Adekola, a lecturer at the University of Glasgow. I think I've been on the show before talking about my research, the research we've been doing around COVID-19, and I guess we're here to talk about kind of what the future holds.
What the future holds. Thank you very much. What the future holds for us. From what we are seeing already, the future holds higher cost of living, energy bills going up. I hope people will not crucify me for saying this, that apparently it seems the cost of fuel, of petrol, is dropping just a bit. Because of course, all of a sudden, something we're buying 1.91 has become 1.71. Even at the big names like Shell, BP. So, but hopefully this would change again. Welcome again. It's great to have you on here again. And we always like having back our own friends, which is cool for us on the show and in the house here. So let's start from here. I know the last time you were on the show, you told us about the findings, and I believe that last time also was when you were starting to have this discussion with the experts in the community, which you had one in Glasgow, Edinburgh, and then Aberdeen. So I think that last time you were here, you've had the Glasgow one, but it was still left to do the Aberdeen one. But you've also had the Edinburgh one. So maybe if we start from that side, in what came out of Aberdeen? Was it the strawberries on the road, or the beaches, or were there important things that actually came out from Aberdeen?
Yes, I mean the discussion across the three community events we've held are quite similar, overlapping, but there are some unique issues, that came up in different locations. It could just be the focus of the discussion for the day. Um, in Edinburgh, we talked a lot about communication and information and the need to engage the communities, to work with grassroots community or grassroots organizations that carry high impact work, which is not really happening because they are not profiled. Some of them are not registered, and they are the one that the community see, they call upon So they need to engage with this community, and they need to communicate with the African and Caribbean communities in the language they can understand. Was a strong message that came out from the Aberdeen. In the Glasgow event, it's also similar to Aberdeen, but we touched on the broad range of issues where people mentioned a lot of the challenges they experienced during the COVID-19 pandemic. People mentioning financial challenges due to no recourse to public fund, people having to, a lot of people on zero-hour contracts who, if they have to isolate, they don't get paid for staying at home, and most people couldn't really afford it. The mental health challenges as they work from home, and the study from home was also a challenge in itself, including the bills piling up, with the whole working from work and study from home thing. In Aberdeen, it was similar. Mental health issue did come out strongly, and the need for even the intergenerational understanding of what mental health means and how people can seek help. If they experience challenges. Also, people expressed some of the challenges they went through during the pandemic, the experiences with the vaccine itself, and then there was the encouragement for us to look inward as a community to see what we can do to help ourselves. Just relying on Public Health Scotland is not going to help us in any way, because Public Health Scotland themselves, they have a lot of issues, a lot of health challenges. So it's not just COVID they're dealing with. There's cancer, there's the mental health, there's diabetes. So many issues the Public Health Scotland is dealing with. But as a community, if we're looking for high impact work at the grassroots level within our locality, we need to get involved. It's good to call on Public Health Scotland to support us with the resources that they need, but the truth is that they don't really understand our culture, our way of life, our way of thinking, and that is where every individual can come in to help and see what can I contribute as a person. So that message did come out strongly, and I was quite pleased, in Aberdeen, that even as we're seeking help from government to invest in the community, we also need community unity. The idea the community want to see a positive change themselves, and we are actively looking at what we can do. We don't know we don't all have to do the same thing. Whatever you think you're good in, whatever influence you have, whether it's with children, with teenagers, your friends, your parents, in your own little way. You don't have to. It doesn't have to be millions of people. Just one, two persons, you're good to go. So, and I think it's a message we need to start pushing through, Radio Jambo and your show, Doc, to see what people can do to help in their own little way.
Wait. All right. I mean, you mentioned some things there which are actually key. And, like you said, Public Health Scotland, they have a lot on their hands to do. And, that made me remember just even before the COVID-19 came at all, I think that was between 2017, 2019. And I got in touch with my own local GP. I can't mention on here so that people don't start looking at me. But I got in touch with my GP there, and what I was really looking for them was to see how the general practice can actually organize have an awareness event, particularly on diabetes with the African community. And I went there because I know one of the senior practitioners there was a specialist, because he's now retired, was a specialist in diabetes. So I was thinking that, okay, I know this should be something, I don't know the number of people registered there who are from the African ethnic minority or even the Caribbean one. But I was just like, this is something we can organize. But it was really difficult to do that. Now, the question I'm going to is that from these 3 meetings, were there suggestions from the people about how they think Public Health Scotland and even the government can engage with their community? Did they give any suggestion?
Yes, there were a lot of suggestions. I think, like the issue you mentioned, not being able to access healthcare experts, again was an issue that also came up in our Glasgow discussion, but it also came up in our Edinburgh discussion as well. Having access to experts is difficult for the community. And the reason it isn't because we don't have the expertise within the health system. It's because the communication of this information to a specific group of people can be a challenge in itself. A lot of people are worried that you might say something, but it could be misinterpreted in another cultural context as another thing. And a lot of the health practitioners, even the authorities there, they would admit it that not all health practitioners have the training on how to communicate, especially when it comes to dealing with specific community groups. We can all communicate when it comes to the general public, but when you're going to the mosque, for example, to talk, you have to understand how to do, your dressing,
Yeah.
the way you greet, the way you comport, the language. So it requires a special kind of skill. So for most people, they're not really comfortable because they don't have the training, and they don't want to kind of you're trying to solve a problem and then you create a bigger problem.
Mm.
So, but it's not an
That's key.
excuse. And that's where a lot of suggestions that came out in the community discussion is the need for experts to work with grassroots communities, charity groups. We're not talking about the big names. We're talking about those little groups within the locality that probably are not unknown by authorities, but the communities know them. you know it might be just an individual, it might be a group of people, it might be an association, but these people are culturally aware and they know how to speak to their people and they are available. So if somebody needs to come back to clarify what has been said, they have that access to do that.
Mm.
So the suggestion, which was also part of our recommendation, is the need for health authorities to build community asset partnerships with all community groups, including the constituted and the unconstituted groups, whether you're registered or not, as long as you're doing high impact work, and you can organize a group of people and create positive impact. I think there's a way where you need to be recognized, and if you have to register yourself to be part of that partnership. I know registration doesn't cost so much in the UK. To register your group, probably 50. I don't know. Maybe you tell me.
Yeah, I know.
um,
I know it's not that much depending on whatever you want to register your group with. Whether you want to register it as a CIC or SCIO, depending on them.
yeah.
Now, that's finding in itself as a very very important one with the recommendation you made from it. But one thing I look back at is that okay, some of those groups, how do I don't know if this was a focus, maybe I don't know if this was a focus on any of it, or maybe this came about these groups themselves, how do they keep themselves accessible? Because it's one thing to say the government should come, another thing is are they accessible? If someone like you or myself want to say, oh, see, we want to do, I want to do this, but I want it to be your community that bring, that your community should bring those people, and then we will facilitate this. How is the accessibility? Because I won't lie to you, from experience it's been difficult doing that.
No, sometimes to assess this group can be difficult, and that's why we are recommending also the need to create a database of
Okay.
community groups within different localities, so that if I want to go into Aberdeen as a health practitioner to do any community work, I have access to a database and different groups of communities I can reach out to. But at the moment, there's really no existing database. So to be able to reach this group, we need such a database where people, individuals, or groups, or even the government, can have access to, so they can understand what is out there. Because if you're going to Aberdeen, even yourself or myself, if we want to do that, you probably have to call one or two friends and tell them, oh, is there any charity groups in Aberdeen? But if there's a database that is publicly accessible, then people will know where to go to.
Hmm.
But yeah, I think the accessibility is an issue, and and even and the government, like I told you when I was speaking to our professor Jason Leach, he was talking about the need for us to organize ourselves in the way that they know who to speak to, which kind of is the same thing you're referring to. accessibility, visibility. Who do we speak to? I mean, how can we trust these groups?
Yeah.
Because if you're unconstituted, another issue is trust. If we give you the money or if we work with you, can we trust you? Can we make sure that you will have the same value? So it's important. I know all these groups, not all of them have the money to create a website and make so much noise about what they do. Because what we are looking for here is how can we work with the least resources available. So we're not looking for, big money to do things. We're just looking for people who are willing to come forward to do things. So yeah, I think we need a kind of database where we can assess, we can know what is available and how we can assess them,
Yeah.
which is
So
missing at the moment. Yeah.
needing more people to put themselves forward. Listeners, that's what Dr. Joe is telling us. We need more people from the community to come forward. Whatever you can do to help, let's just do it to help this community to move forward. Like Tesco will say, every little helps. Every little helps. So let's move on. Now, we've done all of this. You've done all this great work of research and everything. Recommendations, findings have been made, recommendations have been made. Where are we going to next?
Well, the future is full of so many tasks and things we need to do. Now, for this piece of research we've done, we're going to try to make sure that we create a lot of as much as policy impact as we can, and also academic impact as well. By teaching the younger people about some of the challenges that community are facing. So for instance, on the 24th of August, we're going to have a community event where we'll be discussing about the health of the African, Caribbean, and Black communities. Myself, I'll be there to present the work that I have done on on the one of the research we've conducted this year, on vaccine hesitancy and some of the challenges and some of the issues around access to health and social care in Scotland. And the Scottish government would also be there to present their own book on vaccine experiences and user journey. Now, interestingly, in that event, we're going to have the CAPSEC for Health, who is keen to understand what the challenges are and what we can do. So we're going to have an open panel discussion on the day, and everybody's welcome to come. If you have any specific issue you want to share with the CAPSEC for Health, please feel free to come to the event. Like I said, as soon as I have the details of the event, I'll share it with you so you can share with your audience. But I understand it's being circulated at the moment and people are currently registering to attend the event. So it's an opportunity for you to come to speak to the Minister of Health directly. The Minister of Health for Scotland, and he's always very keen to learn and see what his administration can do to help. So, so please do come in, and we'd like to hear from you. From the academic perspective, we're going to be teaching this in the classroom, to help the future generation understand some of the challenges, around managing communities and especially minority or racial communities, and what they can do if they find themselves working in public health or in United Nations, etc. And interestingly, the findings we are finding here is not just peculiar to Scotland. Lessons can be learned for other parts, like in England, but also in African countries as well. Also, we're interested in creating a community research network, which is another aspect, another place we would like to go, because we need to begin to do research that continue to do research that command respect, and we believe that you know every research we do has to be bigger and better. The research we've done over the years has gotten better and better and larger and larger, and that's what it should be. So we're trying to create a community research network so we can reach even more people, because
Oh,
the way
that's
our
interesting.
community work, yeah, the way our community work, we seem to operate in bubbles, little
Ah,
bubbles.
well, you don't doubt it, and I always flaunt that because it's an egalitarian community. And I'm proud
Yeah,
of that
yeah. I
about our
mean,
community. We are so
yeah,
egalitarian, and people don't understand that about us. First, we unite when we unite, but we can be so egalitarian. But one
yeah. We
something I
can do.
picked up. Sorry. Something I picked up just before you went into the community research. You talked about the event of the 24th, Um, so would that be like in? Do you know the venue yet, or?
It's going to be a Zoom meeting.
Oh, it's going to be Zoom. Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
so it's on the 24th of August between 10 a.m. and 12 p.m. Yeah,
10
so
a.m.
the
and
first
12.
hour, in the first hour of the meeting, we'll be presenting our research. So the
Okay.
Ipsis Morris, I think that their research is on ethnic minority communities in Scotland, where they'll
Okay.
be looking at the vaccine user journey and experiences. And then I will come in specifically with to talk about the African,
Can
Caribbean,
I
and
can
Black
I-
communities.
it's-
I always argue that the ethnic minority communities, is so broad
Yeah.
that sometimes it's important that we start looking at the individual communities and the need
Communities.
for us
Yeah.
to continue to do so. So, but in the second hour, we're going to be having more of a discussion,
Discussion.
and
All right.
yeah, yeah,
That'll
and the
be
event
something to look forward to. Yeah,
yeah,
that's something to look
it's
forward
going
to.
to,
I
it's
mean,
going to be
especially with you telling me that my friend will be there, who is the Health Secretary of Scotland, that's Homse Yusuf. We look forward to that. I mean, he's always someone who is always ready to listen and have a chat and discussion with people. So we look forward to that. Now, let's move on to this community research thing. What will really be the aim? How would that help the community?
So now I think there's currently a call from UKRI to create a community research network. Now, the aim of the network is to create a network of people that would support research. That's
Okay.
simple. But what the focus is going to be like will be determined by the network themselves. So,
All
what
right.
we're looking for at this stage, we're looking for a group of charity groups. Okay, we're looking for a number of charity groups who are willing to champion this cause, who are willing to work together with academics like yourself and mine to create a community research group so that when we want to conduct research in the future or when there's a community problem, that we have access to academic experts who are willing and ready to carry out research. But at the same time, we have the network to help us to generate the intelligence that we need to understand the problem.
Hmm.
So a community research network is just to help, reduce the time it takes to plan a research or to reach the audience. So at the moment we're looking for two or three charity organizations that would help put in an application, and if successful, we'll be looking to work with a range of community groups and charity groups in Scotland to create a research network. Now, what the network is going to focus on will be decided by the group, by the
And the
members of the
network
group.
itself.
Yes, so it's not
That's
something
good.
that we will decide right now. It's not an issue for me to decide. It's an issue for the community to decide. But the focus is going to be on the African and Caribbean communities. But what we choose to focus on will be the decision of the people themselves.
Oh, I mean, that would be a good one. I will look forward to that as well. That'll be a good one. Now, I want to move you away from this research. I've had enough of research of you. Now, let's focus on yourself. You know, particularly looking at our community, we can't run away from it. It's a highly patrilineal community. Most of the work you have done, normally, if it were to be the normal African or Caribbean setting, you'll have expected it to be a man face behind that voice and everything. What has been your motivation?
Well, yeah, you know, my motivation is just to do research so we can understand our communities better. When there's a crisis, that's when you know that it is important for you to know who you are and where you're from. And it's important for you to, when you have um, a skill or an expertise, you will realize that it's important for you to strengthen your community. Because when there's a crisis, everybody will focus on their own immediate community that's important to them. So if you look at the case of the pandemic, for instance, in the initial crisis, in the initial stages of the pandemic, people were doing research that, was that was beneficial to their own community of interest. And I was even hearing about research from the African and Caribbean communities, and I thought that was important, and I thought there was a missing piece here. And
Hmm.
if you look at it in the UK higher educational institutions, there are not a lot of African and Caribbean, black population in HDRs. So I thought, okay, it was important for me to come to do this, and we need more people. We need more people. Like I said, the issue that is facing the African Caribbean community is not for one, two, or three people, or it's not for a group of people. We need an army. When I say we need an army, I really mean it. That we need an army. And the problem is not just about coronavirus. There's poverty, there's joblessness, there's lack of opportunities, there's lack of investment in businesses. There's financial issues, there's housing issues. We need experts in all these areas. I have expertise in risk management. So I can't venture into other areas that is not my, where I don't have expertise, because expertise is kind of domain specific. So
Yep.
we need other scientists, other researchers, whether male or female, but also to encourage the female. And it's really good, for work life balance. So if you're a mother that have kids, research is really good for you, because you don't have to be standing in front of the class. You can research from home. You can do it in the night, weekend, whatever time suits you. You can wrap it around your life. So maybe that would encourage more ladies to come
Oh
into
well, I
research.
mean, it's good you said that, but I don't think it's all universities that give that opportunity. They will still want you to teach in the class. But looking at our community, the ethnic minority women. I mean, even let's even looking at the politics itself. I think we only have two ethnic minority MSPs, women, two ethnic minority women MSPs in Hollywood, and that's Kokab Stewart, MSP from SNP, and we have Pam Goso, MSP from Conservative. Just those two. And even when you look at the ethnic minority men as well, I think we only have two, Humza Yusuf and doctors. The conservative one now is the health secretary for the conservative group there. But the thing is, Santesh Ganesh. I'm sorry, Santesh, if you are listening. I'm sorry. But the thing is, when you look at the ethnic minority women from politics, I've just mentioned politics there. If we move on to research now, we can unpick, we can unpick the research community here. But how do you think we can do more to encourage more ethnic minority women to start leading? Because I'm so passionate about this. I want to see this happen in our community. How?
Yeah. I mean, we can't ignore the cultural dimension to these things. From the African perspective, women are meant to be quiet and stay behind, and let the men lead, which is a problem in itself, because if you look at all the countries where women are leading as presidents, those countries seem to have done extremely well during the pandemic, to show that the gender perspective to leadership is a great opportunity. And women are, generally more caring. Well, I don't want to stereotype, but I at least have studied leadership and management a little bit. So, generally more tender, nurturing in nature, which is great for leaders, is a good quality for leaders to have. So the cultural perspective are things we can't ignore. But, we women, I always say the first thing that would just, that would encourage anybody into a leadership position is to want it yourself. Some people, most people don't even want it, or they don't feel they deserve, they deserve to lead, or they feel they don't have the skill to. So as long as you want it, and you don't have to start leading from the front, a group of people you don't know. Start from the group you know. Start from home, and build your confidence from there. Yeah, and I think from the individual perspective, just want it. From the community perspective, we need the men to support their wives. My husband is doing a fantastic job, to be honest. I don't want to blow his trumpet. He likes to be kept off social media, so I would keep that up. But just encourage them in the way, or just let them do it if they want to do it. Stop criticizing too much. Oh, can you do it? Oh, can you do it? Oh, I don't think so. It don't Just encourage them. And the government can help as well by giving scholarships, to women to go into research, sponsor them to do master's programs, sponsor them to do PhD program. Another problem is that scholarship. And I can see that some universities are doing very well. They're bringing out scholarships specifically for the African and Caribbean communities, which is great. Glasgow University have done that. A few universities in England have also done that. And we're hoping that, and again, that was part of our recommendation, they need to fund, to provide more scholarship and invest in education, so more of the African and Caribbean communities can, get into some of these professional roles, as well. But again, it's at all levels. The individual need to want it. They need to be able to put themselves forward to train themselves. The period of training is really hard. I've been here. I've been in Scotland for over 14 years. You probably haven't heard of me for almost the past 12 years. I've not just been sitting at home. I've been training. I've been training myself, doing my PhD, doing my postdoc. Doing everything I can, be training in the background. So keep training yourself. Try to be better. Don't just focus on qualifications alone. Any opportunity for you to learn, just take it and learn it. Have the willingness to do it. Get people. People will always talk you down. It happens to me too, doesn't it? But I think I've come to a place where I know how to sieve out people from my life. I know how to surround myself with people that encourage me, and I know how to stay away from people who don't. And it's okay. People don't have to buy your vision. It's okay
Absolutely.
because you don't have this the same experience. You didn't come from the same place, and you don't know. Nobody knows where you are going.
Yeah.
So, but you yourself need to surround yourself with people that support you. We need our men to support us as women. The kids support us. It's not going to be easy. During the period of training for me, it was really hard. Sometimes I would cry and say, "What am I doing?" But you just keep going, and the scholarship, the opportunities, and you're in a good place. You're in a good community where women have the opportunity to grow, and it's a place where you can actually achieve whatever you want to achieve as long as you're good in it. And that's why you're
Absolutely.
training yourself to be the best of whatever even if it's what you want to do is to cook. There's a lot of cooking social media sites that are doing so well. If that's what you want to do, just do it. But just train yourself to be the best in it, or to just offer value. And you know, you can live in
Wow,
different ways.
that's you gave us a lot of interesting things there, which I believe are coming from your own personal experience, and which is something I always like when people, I'm interviewing people. I want them to always share their own personal experiences. That people, just if you are still listening to us, this is Jambo Radio, and we are on the Nigerian Pride. And today I'm having a chat with Dr. Joe. And we've been talking, we've moved from research to the findings to the next level, to the next steps. And now we're actually just picking on our own personal ways, looking at it, linking it up to that ethnic minority women. How can we get more of you out? What can we do to help and support? Because personally for me, I want to see more ethnic minority women out there. I want to see. I mean, there's a whole lot of talks about, the woman does not have to always stay at home and take care of the kids. I want to be that daddy that will stay at home and take care of the kids, and let me see my wife do the things there. I will love it. And I'm not saying this in a sarcastic way, but I really mean it. Let's see the women lead. Let's see them do things. Now, Dr. Joe, what I will ask you again is this. I don't have asked again, but I want to just make sure we clarify that very well. So, I know you've mentioned the support you get from your husband there. You've mentioned the support also you get from, the way you've been able to sieve out, those who are supporting you, those who are not, and things like that. But one important thing you mentioned was that you have to put yourself into it. You've been here almost 14, 15 years. Maybe people just started, listening to the voice for the past 2, 3 years. It's not as if you've just sat down somewhere and just blown out of the water. And that took me back to the discussions we had last week. And when one of the contributors was like, it said exactly what you said, that, I've been here forever. I've been doing this course, doing that, doing this, and now I'm here, I'm doing this. And I look at myself as well. I be like, Olu, you two, you've been here for this time, you've been doing this, doing that, doing this. And how can we encourage the generation of today Yes, we are part of that generation, but I'm talking about the youth. I mean, from the age of 15 to, I'll say, 30, or 15 to 35. How can we encourage, particularly the women, how can we encourage them? What do we need to be saying to them?
I think the environment is very important.
Okay.
The environment you find yourself and the people around you, would influence your life decisions. And that's why, so parents, as a parent, you have a big role to play in the life of your children, especially when they are younger. What do you spend time with them on? You know, do you spend time with them going to museums? Do you spend time with them going to science centers or universities, or talking about educational things or intellectual things? Or do you spend time with your child watching Nigerian movies or African movies or African magic? So, as a parent, what time, what are you using your time with your children for, and also what are you doing? Because most children actually look at you, they look at the parent as their hero, right? And whatever you do will likely influence on them as well. So when children are younger, as a parent, you have that responsibility, which is a very heavy responsibility to direct their interest. As we don't encourage parents to tell their child what to do, right? I don't want to tell my child to study medicine, for instance, but if I want my child to study medicine, I know what to do when they're younger. Buy them medical toys, take them to where there are medical events,
Museum, yeah.
watch medical movies. So that's a way of you encouraging certain kind of interest in your child. So, but then as they grow, like I always say, it's not everything a parent can teach a child, because even the parents themselves, they are not perfect. They don't know it all. They are just trying their best,
Yeah.
and that's where the willingness and the motivation and the drive of the child comes in. Different children have it at different levels. Some kids tend to have it earlier in life, right from their primary school. Some kids are already driven, and some people it takes them up to university stage to even get to that point. But it doesn't matter, life is not a competition, but you could actually, as a parent, encourage the drive of your child and try to see what do you encourage them to do. Do you encourage them to sag their trousers or to wear earrings? I'm not criticizing anybody that do that, but you should know that whatever your kids see, they are likely to portray that behavior.
Absolutely.
And you need to ask yourself, what kind of identity are you giving your child? What are you helping them to understand about their life and the life that they're living? Because they have a life, but there's also a life that is bigger than them as well.
Yeah.
How are they able to identify themselves within the bigger society? And it's really important, take just helping them to understand, to be interested in things. And as they grow older, like even the Bible tells us, train up a child in the way they should grow. The things in which their parents have encouraged in them, they're likely to carry it further. And there are those who are self-driven, who can continue to encourage themselves, but there are those who, their friends would also help to.
Yeah.
And that's why again you need to keep watching your kids' friends, and what they do, where they go to. Are they always going to cinema?
Mm.
Is that all they do when your kids' friends go out? Do they go to museums? Do they go to science center? Do they go to events? Research events or science events? Or so what your child do? I know a lot of us in our community, we spend a lot of time in the church. Which in itself is a good thing, because I know there was a recent research at the University of Glasgow that those religious people tend to have more. They tend to, your religious behavior is linked to mental health. And yeah, and which is interesting. So, which is great, but you need to balance it. You need to try to balance the life of your children, and as a parent, you need to try, even if you're not. I know a lot of parents are also going through their own mental health challenges. But once
Yeah.
you have a child, you just have to get up and try. And just try your best every single day. And just try your best for your child. And make sure that they're listening to things, the cartoon they watch, the places they go, the friends they keep. are in line with the values of your family.
Hmm.
You know,
Okay.
and that's how you shape the interest of your child. You can't just leave your child unattended, and then when it's time for them to choose a course, you tell them you must be a lawyer. They're going to ignore you.
Mm-hmm.
If
Mm-hmm.
I want my child to be a lawyer, from now, when they are 5 years, 6 years, that's when you start encouraging them to debate about things, argue,
Mm-hmm.
talk with them and let them have, civil conversation, not just screaming and shouting and being abusive, to one another. So there's so many things we can do as parents, and you can guide them as they go through the path of life, and you just hope that you're doing the right thing,
Oh,
at every point.
good. I
Because
mean,
life
yeah,
is not,
that's sorry.
no,
Life
life
is
is
not.
really complex. It's really complicated, right? 1 plus 1 is not two when it comes to life. But
Yeah.
when you've done your best, there's a way that the universe will support your effort and see that, oh, as a parent or as a mother or as a father, you have tried your best, and hopefully with prayers, everything will go well.
Oh, good. I mean, that's good. I mean, the way you brought it all out there. Now, the other thing, which I mean, someone just sent to me on my WhatsApp is that, oh, Dr. Joy is a researcher. She's been a research student once. She's been a postdoc, she's done a postdoc as well. Can she shed some light on how you can actually achieve success? Because sometimes as a PhD student, I cry. That's just so I'm just getting it word for word. So, how do you advise research students? I mean, that's just something that came in here just now.
Okay, is that a PhD student?
I
Something like
think
that.
so. So, because the
Okay.
person is saying, as a research student, I cry sometimes. So, is
I
it
think
because,
crying is a good thing, right?
okay,
As,
so,
as a research student, if you want to cry, please sit down and cry it out.
okay.
Okay, it's just you expressing your emotions. You're a human being. We all have emotions, and we get all frustrated, and sometimes we express it in different ways. Some people express it by being, crying, like the person is suggesting. But some people express it by being, they just look out. They're not just able to concentrate again. Um, but like I say, everything is determination and your desire to learn. And it's okay. You see, this attitude of, they always tell you that it's good to be confident, but it's good for you to understand the theory of space. There are places you need to be confident, but there are places that you need the learning behavior. When you're doing a research, you know, you need to be only confident in your methodology. But the learning process, you need to be you need to adapt a learning behavior and see, and just try to enjoy it. As long as you see it as a chore or as a burden, you can't go far. Okay. So, but
I
you
mean,
can help yourself to enjoy anything at all.
yeah. As you're talking there, I just got a comment from someone saying that crying is not good, though.
Okay, we can debate about. No, I mean, tell me why crying is not a good thing.
I
Crying
mean,
actually
maybe
improves
when it
your
comes to the
study.
well, I mean, I can also share that idea that when it comes to the context of being a research student, I think crying is good sometimes because you just
No, no, it's
push it
not. Crying is
out.
just like it's just an expression of emotions, right?
Exactly,
When you
you're
laugh,
able to
crying is
push it
just
out.
like laughing. Yeah, crying is just like laughing. But if you don't feel like laughing, why would you force yourself to cry? If your
Hmm.
emotion is telling you to cry, then you cry. You
Yeah,
know. But also, research is also a lonely journey. It's a journey
absolutely.
where you're on your own. You're on your own at all times, and that's why a lot of people don't finish their PhD. Because
Hmm.
when they're doing a PhD, they expect that, oh, I'm going to do a PhD, you're going to be in a room full of people. But to be honest, nobody is going to understand your research
No.
until you're either presenting your finding in a way that people can relate with.
Hmm.
And you may be saying something and to the other person, I mean, what are you talking about? It's a very
Absolutely.
lonely journey. Yeah, but you're determined. You know what you want out of that research. So your research will either give you a qualification of PhD, which is only one of the benefits. Don't forget, your PhD qualification is only one benefit.
Sure.
There are, there are subsequent benefits that's going to come from that.
Yeah.
So if you keep your eyes on the reward, and there's so many things that come. There's respect that come from it. There are opportunities that come with it. And whether you have your PhD or not, you still see yourself like someone who doesn't know anything. You're good in certain area, but at the same time, you adopt a learning behavior. And as you go through that whole experience, the whole crime is all about project management.
Project management. I mean, today we've been able to take Dr. Joe off the research to look at other part of our experiences, which I think the people have appreciated. That so Dr. Joe can talk about something else apart from research. This is good. This is good. So, I know we're short of time, and I just want us to just in wrapping up this now. You've told us the 24th of August what is happening. You've told us about the community research group thing. Now, how can this one is just the final bit of it. Moving on, the particular thing I want to go back to. You mentioned the database thing. Will all those next steps you've mentioned be part of the way we start building this database for our community?
Now, to build a database, right, it's important for people to understand why the database is being built, isn't it?
Yep.
You don't just want to fill your information. And even the person building the database don't just want a database that is not effective. So the community research network, for example, will give us the opportunity to discuss about all these issues and how we can work together. And again, the database will even help us to understand how to map out groups that work in similar areas, because there are a lot of groups, for instance, working on mental health. Excuse me. You know, a lot of groups working on mental health. In different parts of Scotland who don't even know the other person exists. So the database will help us to um,
What just happened? I think we lost Dr. Joe there. We'll just see if she can join back. I know our time is fast spent. But whilst we're waiting there, for all the viewers ever listening there, thank you for joining us. It's still the Nigerian Pride coming to you from the stables of Jambo Radio Scotland. I think we have Dr. Joe back. We just allow her to finish her speech there.
Sorry, I wasn't sure what happened there. My apologies.
Right.
Yeah. So I think as a community, for us to start building, I think we are building ourselves as a community individually and in groups. That's already going on. So it's not like it's something new that wants to happen, but we want to do it at a larger scale. Where the impact we are creating at the individual levels can even go wider. A group that is supporting people in Glasgow might actually not need to do very much to support people in other parts of Scotland. So what we're trying to do is to amplify what is already being done on the ground. And for us to be able to do that, we need to be able to come together as a network, whether as a community research network or a community research consortium, whatever we decide to call it. But the whole idea of creating this community research network or consortium is for us to be able to create a higher level impact that we're already doing. And a lot of people are doing fantastic work already, at the individual level, at the group level, at the community level. But, it's just an idea for you to think about how what you're doing could actually reach more people. Not just only in your local community, let's say in Glasgow, but in the entire Scotland, or even the African continent as well, especially if your work is focused on African and Caribbean communities. Because what you're preaching or the value you're sharing with the African Caribbean community here would equally be beneficial to somebody living in Liberia or in Cameroon or in Nigeria.
Absolutely.
So what we're trying to do is not to do anything different from what people are already doing, but for us to come together to create a higher level impact, and that's all we seek here. And we seek everybody's support, for us to come together to try to, help ourselves, help our community in our own little way. We all don't have time. Here, like they say, this life is just a journey. and you want, when it's time for you to go, you feel some sense of satisfaction that you've done your little that you can to your community.
Wow. You've done your little that you can for your community. Life is a journey. And by the time it's ending, you should look back and say, right, I've done my own little part. I want to say a big thank you to Dr. Joe for giving us our time again today. We are working all the way with you. You know that. Anytime you need us, we are here for you. And also, that goes out to every individual organization out there. If you need any help of us, contact us, Jambo Radio, contact any of our presenters. We've got the Nigerian Pride, we've got BB's African Magazine, we've got the Yoruba theme program, many programs that that you wouldn't even believe. You just need to go to our website to see what we've got in stock. So thank you so much, Dr. Joe, for coming around today. We really appreciate you for this. So back to the listeners, I just want to do this. A big shout out to Dr. Mrs., our own Dr. Mrs. Kemi Akinbobola. Happy birthday to you. We'll celebrate you. She's the brain behind our Yoruba themed show, Yoruba talk show here. We wish you long life and prosperity. That's coming from all of us who is the team of the Nigerian Pride and Jambo Radio. Wish you a lot prosperous years ahead. Meanwhile, you better bring the cake to the studio. So that's important, even though we've not got any invite. Bring the cake to the studio. Next week, we will be focusing on the political movement happening in Nigeria. We are at the moment, yesterday Kenya had their election. Very soon we will be bringing one of our own who went down to Kenya to witness all of this. He will be coming as a guest on the show, and we'll be looking at the growth of democracy in Africa, especially also in Kenya at a time where we're having a change in personality and leadership. How is democracy going in East Africa? We'll look at that, but that's not for next week. You know when that is happening. But for next week, we will be having Honorable Olumuyiwa Owadara. He is the CEO of RMD Foundation in Nigeria. We will be having him on the show next week, and he will be telling us, we'll be asking him a lot of questions about himself and about his political ambition and also the political terrain in Nigeria. Stay tuned and you will know about it. On that note, I would also love to tell you all that come October, when the Nigerian Pride will be 2 years old on air, there's nothing that is there's nothing that is static in the world. There is always a change. There will be a change. So just watch out. The change will come. Watch out. I'm not going to tell you what the change is about, but the change is coming. Watch out for our first show in October. Congratulations also to all the students who had their results out yesterday. We're proud of you. So proud of you. A lot of you got some wonderful results. A lot of you have got your places confirmed already in the university. And for those who have not going to the university, it's even a greater opportunity. Who knows? You may be the next Bill Gates of this world. Look into entrepreneurship. Look at even Jambo Radio. What do you think you can learn here? What do you think you can come and contribute? Get in touch with us. The future holds greater things for you. On that note, I am Lion Olusokunbi. See you next week. Bye for now.